Hello fellow travelers, my name's SG and welcome to the channel. Today we'll be continuing with Dante's Inferno chapter, or Canto 17. I hope you enjoyed my last one where Dante and Virgil were still going through the city of violence. There they met three people from Florence that wanted to know how their town had been. They were important people at the time and wished that it stayed its ways even to this day, but Dante just gave him a brief answer. Now Virgil and Dante have continued their way and made their way to a waterfall, and they're summoning a creature. Alright, now let's continue, shall we? Behold the monster with the pointed tail, who cleaves the hills and breaketh walls and weapons. Behold him who infecteth all the world. Thus unto me my guide began to say, and beckoned him that he should come to shore, near to the confine of the trodden maple. And that uncleanly image of deceit came up and thrust ashore its head and bust, but on the border did not drag its tail. The face was as the face of a just man, its semblance outwardly, and was so benign, and of a serpent all the trunk besides. 2 paws it had, hairy on to the armpits, the back and breast, and both the sides it had depicted over with nooses and with shields, with colors more, groundwork or broidery. Never enclothed did Tartarus make nor Turks, nor were such tissues by Arachne laid. As sometimes wearies lie upon the shore, that part are in the water, part on land, and as along the guzzling Germans there, the beaver plants himself to wage his war, so the vile monster lay upon the border, which is of stone, and shutteth in the sand. His tail was wholly quivering in the void, consorting upwards, and the inward fork, that in the guise of a scorpion armed its point. The guide said, Now perforce must turn aside our way a little, even to that beast, malevolent that yonder coacheth than him. We were therefore on the right side of descended, and made 10 steps upon the outer verge, completely to avoid the sand and flame. And after we are come to him, I see, a little farther off upon the sand, a people sitting near the hollow place. Then said to me the master, So that full experience of this round thou bear away, now go and see what their condition is. There let thy conversation be concise. Till thou returnest, I will speak with him, that he concede to us his stalwart shoulders. Thus, farther still upon the outermost head of that 7th circle all along, I went where sat the melancholy folk. Out of their eyes was gushing forth their woe. This way, that way, they helped them with their hands. Now from the flames, and now from the hot soil. Not otherwise in the summer do the dogs, now with the foot, now with the muzzle, when by fleas, or flies, or gadflies they are bitten. When I had turned mine eyes upon the faces of some, on whom the dolorous fire is falling, not one of them I knew, but I perceived that from the neck of each there hung a pouch, which certain color had, and certain blazon, and thereupon it seems their eyes are feeding. And as I gazing around me come among them, upon a yellow pouch I azure saw, that had the face and posture of a lion. Proceeding then the current of my sight, another one of them saw I, red as blood, display a goose more than butter. Display a goose more white than butter is, and one who was an azure sow, engraved and blazoned had his little pouch of white, said unto me, What dost thou in this mout? Now get thee gone, and since thou still alive, know that a neighbor of mine, Vitaliano, will have his seat here on his left-hand side. A Padun am I with these Florentines. Fully many a time they thunder in mine ears, exclaiming, Come the sovereign cavalier, he who shall bring the satchel with 3 goats. Then twist he his mouth, and forced he thrust his tongue, like to an ox that licks its nose, and fearing lest my longer stay might vex him, who had warned me not to tally long, backward I turned me from those weary souls. I found my guide, who had already mounted upon the back of that wild animal, and said to me, "Now be both strong and bold. Now we descend by stairways such as these. Mount thou in front, for I will be midway, so that the tail may have no power to harm thee." Such as he is who has so near the argue of Cornton that his nails are blue already, and trembles all but looking at the shade. Even such became I at these proffered words, but shame in me his menace produced, which maketh servant strong before good master. I seated me upon those monstrous shoulders. I wished to say, and yet the voice came out not, as I believed, "Take heed that thou embrace me." But he who other times had rescued me in other peril, soon as I had mounted, within his arms encircled and sustained me, and said, "Now, Saron, bestir thyself. The circle's large, and the descent be little. Think of the novel burden which thou hast." Even as the little vessel shoves from shore, backward, still backward, so he hence withdrew, and when he wholly felt himself afloat, there where his breast had been he turned his tail, and that extended like an eel he moved, and with his paws drew to himself the air. A greater fear I do not think there was, what time abandoned Phaeton the reins, whereby the heavens, as still appears, were scorched. Nor when the wretched Icarus his flanks felt stripped of feathers by the melting wax, his father crying, "An ill way thou takest," then was my own, when I perceived myself on all sides in the air, and saw extinguished the sight of everything but of the monster. Onward he goeth, swimming slowly, slowly, wheel and descends, but I perceive it only by wind upon my face and from below. I heard already on the right the whirlpool, making a horrible crashing under us, whence I thrust out my head with eyes cast downward. Then was I still more fearful of the abyss, because I fires beheld and heard laments, whereat I trembling all the closer clings. I saw then, for before I had not seen, the turning and descending, but great horrors that were approaching upon divers side, as falcon who was long been on the wing, who, without seeing either lure or bird, maketh the falconer say, "Ah me, thou stoppest," descended wary, whence he started swiftly, through 100 circles, and the lights, far from his master, sullen and disdainful. Even thus did Gregon place us on the bottom, close to the base of that rough-hewn rock, and being disencumbered by our persons, he sped away as arrow from the string. Alright, now that we've read the chapter, let's talk about it, shall we? In this one, we are seeing pretty much what could be deception. What could be the level of deception this is. We see Virgil has contacted a creature, a monster with the head of a very just man, meaning a very honest looking man, meaning a very trustworthy man. But then he had the body of a snake and kind of claws like that, with a scorpion's tail shortly behind it. It's an odd looking creature, and not one I can really talk about. But this creature is supposed to be deceit in an odd way. Virgil tries to calm it down so that they can ride it all the way down to the next level, And there Dante tries to talk to the residents who are sitting there, but they prefer to be in silence as they wait for their judgment or whatever they are doing. It's not really sure what they're doing, he just knows they're just sitting there. And that's probably honestly what they are doing. They're probably just sitting there and don't really want to talk to nobody for all of eternity at this point. When Virgil and them decide that they are finally ready to go, Dante just remembers being terrified. He doesn't really remember the ride, more as he was just not ready for it. All he could describe from the ride was the feel of the wind on his face, and understanding what Icarus from Greek mythology, if some of you know, like Wrath of the Titans, the sequel to Clash of the Titans reboot, you know that Icarus built the labyrinth. But in traditional Greek mythology, he built a pair of wings that could fly him all the way to the sun, where he then crashed into the sun and burnt on it re-entry. And that's kind of what Dante's feeling, like he flew too close to anything he was actually supposed to go to, and now he's feeling the burn of it all. Now he's feeling overwhelmed by everything that's coming his way. I think it's safe to say at this point in the story, Dante's feeling emotionally and physically worn out by everything he's experienced. And to be fair, I think that would be fair for anybody. They got this far and they're exhausted already. Well, I hope you guys liked this chapter. I know I liked it. It was a good one. We will be continuing on. We are almost done. We are a little less than halfway, so that's not too bad. I hope you guys stick around for more, and yeah, I'll see you next time. Please leave a like and subscribe. I'll be back possibly Wednesday. I'm trying to get the video done, but we shall see. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.